Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Potterverse. We're so excited to have you here on this Monday evening. As you know, we go live pretty much every Monday, and then from there we'll come live either Wednesday or Thursday. So make sure to sign up for our complimentary texting service. Just text the number 81010, and in the message field at Elderwand, at ELDERWAND, and you'll get added to our complimentary texting service. I make sure that you know when we're going live. Speaking of which, I'll text that to everybody right now, just to confirm that we are live. We're going to be recording tonight all about the Midnight Duel, aka the event that never happens.
Yeah, we're here. We're ready to go. We're talking about some Harry Potter, the Midnight Duel. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today and having fun and joining us in the podcast. The numbers for the podcast have been pretty spectacular. And it's, I don't generally like looking at numbers just because I focus more on engagement with you, the listeners, and you, the watchers and the viewers. But I was getting some notifications from our host, and I was just, wow, man, I'm floored by how well everyone is responding to the podcast. So
Awesome.
I'm very excited. Everybody, thank you for saying Anna, Jennifer, Caitlin, Melissa, Expecto Patronum from everybody. Thank you so much. Anna, what else we got? Karen, thank you so much. We got everybody saying Expecto Patronum. And Bex, yes, I am sporting my Outlander cast shirt.
Gotta rep, man. Gotta represent.
Victoria, Expecto Patronum, thank you so much.
Want to give a big shout out to everyone who has taken the time to write a written review in their podcast app of choice. We want to especially thank Just Got Free Coffee, who wrote, "I never miss this podcast. Magical. Mary and Blake make you feel right at home as you relive the Harry Potter series all over again with thoughtful insights, magical discussions, and good dose of laughter. It's my room of requirement in an upside-down world. Mischief match."
All right.
Managed. So
awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gloria and Hillary. Thank you very much for Expecto Patronum. I appreciate it.
Yay,
Love you guys. That's awesome.
Thank you. Yes.
Dana, thank you very much. Expecto Patronum. So we're talking about the Midnight Duel, a thing that did not happen in the film. Well, at least half of this chapter did not happen.
No, but the
film.
Midnight Duel itself did not happen.
That's correct. Tracy, Expecto Patronum.
It didn't happen in the film, and it didn't happen in the books. Thank you, Draco, for Draco. Do you like that I just made that?
Draco for
Just
blah, 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 blah. Hey, have some more margarita, will you? While you're at it.
I will. Pretending I'm on vacation somewhere.
So, I think we're ready to go, Marvin.
We are, everybody. So once again, thank you so much, Susan. Everybody, feel free to hit that share button below and write Expecto Patronum. Friends on Instagram, feel free to do a little screen share and put this in your IG stories so friends can know that they can tune into the Potterverse at Mary and Blake Media as well. Just write Expecto Patronum there as well. We see our friends there joining us on the IG. And friends on Twitter, you can, of course, hit that retweet button.
Oh, Victoria says, I love that. You're our room of requirement.
So sweet.
Oh, I like it.
So sweet.
I might put that up as a new T-shirt. By the way, get all your brand new shirts at the Mary and Blake store that featured, really in particular, Snape for Chapter 8, The Potions Master. Just because, I'm the one who designs them, so I'm going to do favorite designs for my favorite character.
Okay.
That's how it works. As a matter of fact, there's a shirt that says Snape rules. You're welcome, America. You're welcome. So, all right, let's make a podcast.
Here we go.
Let's get it done. 10 seconds for
Room tone.
All right, let's do it.
So busy yourself in the comments while we are awkwardly silent for 10 seconds.
What?
Where's my Google Doc?
It's right there.
Thank you. There we go.
You know what? Cheers.
There you go.
Let's try that again.
Here we are. This episode of the Potterverse is brought to you by MinuteWithMary.com. This is the last month where my famous 4D Epic Mascara is going to be on sale. It gives you the look of false lashes, really thick, full, and lush. If you have other mascara needs, maybe you live in a hot and humid community and you need waterproof mascara, I can still hook you up. Search that hashtag Minute with Mary on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. You'll be able to connect with me there because I would love to help you feel more confident and creative. And since you're a podcast listener of ours, you can also head to minutewithmary.com/discount to grab your mascara at a discount. From Providence, Rhode Island, welcome to the Potterverse. It's a podcast dedicated to the fly on my head. I was like, what is that? Is that a hair? No, a bug burrowing a nest in my luscious mane. That was not magical. Hi, guys. This is a podcast dedicated to the book. Do you want me to re-say that so you can edit it?
Nope. We're going to keep it.
Here we go.
We're keeping it.
Let's pursue that flighty temptress adventure. I'm Mary Larson.
My name is Blake.
Yeah, that happened, Blake. That happened. Wow.
This bugs flying around the studio, getting in Mary's hair, live on the internet.
It's just so funny because our son hates this one fly that's been stuck in our house. And I've been telling him, don't worry about it. Flies don't want you. Flies don't want you. They just want your food. And the cat's probably going to eat it in a little bit. We can't let him ever know this. He's going to have nightmares about bugs being in his hair. Oh, good Lord. Good Lord.
Dude, I am all out of sorts now. What a way to start that podcast.
Well,
oh my goodness gracious.
We're really, really excited to talk about this episode. A lot of stuff happens in this episode and yet, this chapter, and yet it's pretty straightforward for the most part. Things that are put into motion here, we're going to be talking a lot about in future episodes. Okay.
We're going to make that a GIF.
Oh, thank you.
You know that, right? It's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
2020 hitting you
Yeah, that's my reaction. 2020. Can I say something?
For those of you who are listening on the podcast app, please make sure you go to maryandblake.com to check out the video of what just happened, because it will be up. As a matter of fact, it may be a new Hall of Fame moment. I'm going to throw that up there.
Okay.
We're just gonna do that. We're gonna see what happens.
Sounds like a great thing. Not.
Sorry. All right, go ahead. What do we got now? What do we got for the show?
Okay, so the title of this chapter is The Midnight Duel. Mm-hmm. And the quote that I would like to do for this chapter, it's a very simple quote. I've been reading a bit, but I love this one, and I even love it in the movies. We could have all been killed, or worse, expelled by the Hermione Granger.
That's it.
That's it.
We could have been killed, or worse, expelled.
Mm-hmm. She knows where her priorities are at. Not in the book, but in the movies. But let me tell you, we get a lot of information about the core characters of this series in this chapter. I mean, I'd say the core 5 are pretty outlined very, very well in this chapter. And it does seem like a simple...
By core 5, what do you mean?
I mean, Harry, Ron, Hermione, Neville, and Malfoy.
Okay. All right.
So we get to see a lot of their personalities, a lot about how they're going to interact with each other, a lot about how they perceive each other, and some of those perceptions may be wrong. And it may take multiple books to break that down, but it is a very, very fun chapter.
All right, ready to get into the rest of this show?
I am.
Let's do it.
I solemnly swear that I'm up to no good.
Once again, I don't know what I'm supposed to say right now because I can't read the Google Doc. There we go.
Oh, crap. We were supposed to do...
Blake, I'm telling you, man.
Listen, I got 40 million things going on here. I'm trying to be the director of the show.
I've asked if I could be the sound engineer, and you say you won't share the
Absolutely
responsibilities
not.
with
That is
me.
my job.
So if you won't let me take any of the reins, I'm just going to keep sitting here. Okay, so...
She's sitting there pointing at something. I have no idea what she's pointing at.
We also wanted to remind
this
you...
podcast
this
have
is,
been an
Woo!
S show.
Okay, careful. Well, we wanted to remind you to hit that subscribe button on this podcast. Even if you watch us live on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, we would love for you to hit the subscribe button. on your podcast app of choice. You can also follow us on social media by searching Mary and Blake. You can head to maryandblake.com to find other podcasts and blogs. And we would love it if this brings any joy to your life whatsoever to head on over to jointhenerdclan.com. It's the same thing as outlandercastclan.com. It's where you can contribute as little as $2 a month to help keep this podcast going. So here we go. Let's get into this show. So this chapter, would you like to do a synopsis or would you like me to?
I would love for you to do it.
You pretty much always do, don't you?
I do.
Okay, so flying lessons. This is the first time that the kids in the books get to ride their brooms. They get to hang out with Madam Hooch. Of course, Neville, being just the poor little clumsy fella that he is, he falls off his broom. Harry and Draco get into a little bit of a tat about Neville's remembrall. Through it, Harry jumps on his broom.
What do they get into? A tat?
Yeah, is it a word?
I don't think so.
Why don't you Google it? I feel like I would have totally used that in categories. Or what's that one? Scrabble?
Yeah, Scrabble, sure.
Yeah. Yeah, probably would not earn points for that one. Okay, so while they're in that little tiff, that's what I'm trying to say. There we go. Harry gets spotted by Professor McGonagall for flying around. She takes him to go meet Oliver Wood, who was such a hunk in the movies when I was younger. He gets to be the youngest Seeker in a century on the team. And then, all the while, they get into this fight that never happens between him and Draco. This is taking forever, I know. It's a lot that happens. Okay, and they end up being set up, and they run around, and they end up seeing this three-headed dog, and they're like, what the heck is going on?
We're getting a bunch of different ones. Spat. You basically combined tiff and spat, and you got tat.
It's one of my many talents.
Yeah, it actually is. You did a great job.
I especially loved it when I would do it on live television, and I would just make up a word. And the people who I would talk with, they would just roll with it because they were like, wow, she said that so confidently. It must really be a word.
Yeah, like, that's a thing. It's got to be a thing, right?
Nope.
Clearly, obviously.
I made it up. All right, so here we go. So that is the synopsis for this chapter.
Yep.
So let's start off kind of just moment by moment because there's three big things that happen here.
We're going to start at the beginning.
It's a very good place to start.
There you go.
We start off actually not really doing much except Harry just thinking about how much he hates Malfoy. How he never thought that he could hate someone and feel as badly about someone as he did Dudley, but he does for Malfoy. And it's pretty interesting because, of course, like, Malfoy is a twit. You know what I mean? He's a...
Not a tat, but a twit.
Not a tat, twit. Once again, I'm going to firmly say that I believe that this is because of his upbringing. And that 11-year-old probably could have changed his mind maybe if he decided to be friends with Potter and Weasley rather than just stick to his own crew. But whatevs. But Harry just pegs him. You know what I mean? I mean, Malfoy has done nothing but be poor and poorly treat others. But Harry just kind of melds him into this Dudley image in his mind. And I'll be honest with you, Dudley holds up to that image in this chapter, right? Mm-hmm. So the first thing we do is we get to see the flying practice, right? Or is that the remembrall? First, the remembrall. So we get to have that moment where he takes Neville's remembrall. Can we have a moment?
Sure. What do you got?
Remembralls. Let's just digest what a useless magical device that is. You forgot something. You forgot it.
You ain't gonna remember it if it tells you forgot it.
No, like how many people were like Neville and they were like, it was like the Furby. I bet it was like the present of the year, like when Furbies were really big and everyone's like, gotta get a Furby. And then everyone gets a Furby and they're like, this sucks. Like this did not enrich my life.
Or like Tickle Me Elmo. Like I was out on Tickle Me Elmo.
What's like a device that was meant to help people, but really it's just a nuisance?
Tamagotchi.
No, that's a toy. What's a device? Like this, was supposed to help people. And are there things that you're like, this is not useful, but more of just like a paperweight because it has not helped me?
That's a good question.
Maybe our friends on Facebook can weigh on it. But really, like you get a remembrall to remember things. At least the remembrall could like come up with a word and say you forgot to put on your socks.
Yeah, it would say like socks or feet.
Yeah, it just turns red and makes you feel even worse because you don't even remember what it was that you forgot. Goodness gracious. So the Gryffindors and Slytherins have to head on off to flying practice with Madam Hooch, who, honestly, Madam Hooch is a teacher of the 80s. This book series takes place in the 90s. Madam Hooch
Oh,
doesn't
yeah.
have helmets on her kids.
Nope.
This series was obviously not written in 2020. Can you imagine if the author had to write this series right now, the editors would be like, 11-year-olds flying around, that's a little dangerous. Everyone's mandated to wear helmets right now, so you might want to add that in. Madam Hooch doesn't care.
I love when she's like, "Oh, a broken wrist. Come on, boy. It's all right. Up you get.
Doesn't even call him his name.
Come on, boy. Up you get.
I'll get you a tang. You'll feel better in a
you're
jiffy.
Good. You're good. Get some
You're not bleeding.
tussin on there.
Right?
You'll be fine."
Madam Hooch. I honestly think that's why she walks Neville to the infirmary, because she could have Wingardium Leviosa him.
She could have done literally anything.
She could have done Arresto Momentum on him. Okay? There are plenty of spells that even I, a mere muggle, know of that could have stopped Neville from breaking his wrist.
Caitlin Marie on Facebook says shake weight.
I may or may not have purchased a shake weight. It actually did work.
Just like that. A winner!
It did work.
Yeah, it worked all right.
But yeah, shake weight. There you go. A Casio electronic library. See, I feel like that was like the forerunner to a Palm Pilot.
Yeah,
you know?
or the Newton. Remember the Newton from Apple?
No.
That was like it was kind of like a Palm Pilot, but
Okay.
the Newton was like the first little entry into the
The electronic device
Yes.
note-taking thing.
Yes.
Very cool. So, Gryffindors and Slytherins have flying practice class together.
And
Good luck, Madam
I also
Hooch.
want to go on Madam Hooch with this when she says, "None of you is to move while I take this boy to the hospital
This
wing.
boy.
You leave those brooms where they are, or you'll be out of Hogwarts before you can say Quidditch. Come on, dear."
Madam Hooch chills at the 3 broomsticks.
Doesn't her
Daily.
F's account is on overdraft.
She is just all set with her job, you know. I mean,
I feel like she's the gym teacher with like the tracksuit.
Oh, yeah.
And like she's been there for like 30 years. And she does the same thing every year. She
Rub
hates
some
it.
dirt in it, toughen you up.
Get in there, get some spit on it, you'll be fine.
Yeah. And through this, of course, Malfoy grabs the useless Remembrall, which, to be honest, he should have just thrown away. Like, Harry, you don't need to save that. It's
Right.
worthless. But Harry jumps on his broom right away. Now, this is Harry who was afraid that he was going to fail. I mean, Harry's been told his entire life that he's worthless, that he's not smart. He even went to Hogwarts being nervous because he didn't know anything about the wizarding world. And he was very nervous for flying practice, as were a lot of his classmates. Hermione was wicked nervous because she could just read about it, but
Right.
it's not like that.
Right.
Malfoy was bragging. Ron, of course, had some experience with flying around on his brother's broomsticks. But when the moment happened where they had to stay up to their brooms, the broom quickly went into Harry's hand.
Absolutely. And I love this. I love this moment because it is a moment for Harry's magicality to come through, where he actually, that's the one thing that's come to him naturally. Like, that is on his own. Yes, he's been brave. He stood up for Ron. Yes, he has a bunch of money that he's able to spend on something from the what was it again?
Anything from the
Anything-
trolley?
yeah, all the
But in a
sweets and
book,
the- yeah.
anything from the cart?
It just doesn't have the same ring. But he has all the money to spend on that stuff. Those are all external things.
Yeah.
That happen because of stuff around him, but this is the first thing that is his, and it is a nod to his eventual excellence with a broom, but also that he is meant to fly. He is meant to be on brooms. This is something that connects him ultimately to his father that becomes really important.
Yeah, I mean, McGonagall says to him, like, your dad was a great Quidditch player. I loved reading it, how Harry just knew how to move on the broom. It just responded to him so beautifully. And, you know, you think about how some people just get sports.
Yes,
so this
absolutely.
leads me to a question, Blake.
Yep.
How would you have done on your first day in flying practice?
My first initial gut was to say I would have smoked it. I would have been awesome. but I'm horribly afraid of heights. So nope, I would have been bad. I would have been terrible. Like I can't even look like over the railing in our deck. Never mind beyond.
You're already like 6'4"?
I'm already 6'4" and I
Yeah.
hate heights.
Yeah.
I hate it. How would you do?
I think I'd be really good at it.
You think you'd be good at it?
I do.
Okay, how come?
I think it's all about believing in yourself.
Yeah.
I think it really is all about believing in yourself. Well, not really, because then probably a lot of people would have been good flyers. But I believe I would have been great. Truth be told, I probably would end up like Harry in the movies with the broom just smacking me in my face because I have terrible depth perception.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to think that I'd be good at it.
You would not be a good snitch catcher.
I can't see.
Yeah, you would. You would absolutely be a terrible.
I want it to be a beater.
You would not be a good beater.
Why not?
Because that beater would be coming at you, and you'd have to hit it. And
I can hit big balls. I played volleyball.
That's what she said.
I played volleyball.
you can hit what?
You know what I just said.
The other
Bludgers.
the other thing that's coming at play here also is the tension between Harry and Draco. Harry is breaking the rules that Madam Hooch sets up immediately, which is already meant to break. You know, as soon as a teacher says, "Hey, don't do this," you know all the students, when they're not around,
especially when
are
you
gonna
have
do
a
it.
Gryffindor Slytherin mixed class. Like
Right.
it's not like it's Slytherin and Hufflepuffs, and the Hufflepuffs would be like, guys, I don't think that's a really good idea.
Right.
Like we need to. Madam Hooch is a nice teacher. Like let's not do this. Or the Ravenclaws being like, we're not leaving this school.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm not doing anything.
Oh no, you guys are on the brooms.
Oh,
We're here with our books.
I'm going to my locker to get my books. I'll be right back.
Slytherins don't care.
So he
Gryffindors don't really care.
Malfoy busts balls for the sake of busting balls. And he just does it to get a rise, I think, out of Harry. Just because that's what he's doing. And Harry has no problem to act confidently, even though he's breaking a rule, because it's for the greater good. And the tension between the two, Malfoy's overconfidence and Malfoy's ability to piss people off, how that's running in tandem and against Harry's courage and Harry's willingness and need to stand up for his friends and to stand up for himself. So that when Malfoy says, or when Harry says, "You ain't got Crab and Goyle up here, do you?" It's not a coincidence that Malfoy says, "Oh, crap, I can't do anything up here. And this kid just tooled me on this broom."
That he's never ridden before because he lived in a muggle house.
Right. And there's this great passage that I absolutely need to read. This was my favorite part of this whole chapter.
Okay.
"Give it here!" Harry yelled. But Malfoy had leapt on his broomstick and taken off. He hadn't been lying. He could fly well. Hovering level with the topmost branches of an oak, he called, "Come on, get it, Potter!" Harry grabbed his broom. "No!" shouted Hermione Granger. "Madam Hooch told us not to move. You'll get us all into trouble."
Or bird or worse.
Expelled. Harry ignored her. Blood was pounding in his ears. He mounted the broom and kicked hard against the ground, and up he soared. Air rushed through his hair, and his robes whipped out behind him. And in a rush of fierce joy, he realized he'd found something he could do without being taught. This was easy. This was wonderful. He pulled his broomstick up a little to take it even higher and heard screams and gasps of girls back on the ground and an admiring whoop from Ron.
Of course, Ron would whoop.
Ron's all about the whooping life.
But see, this is why I chose that one simple sentence that Hermione said. This entire chapter, Harry makes pretty reckless decisions. You know, brave in many regards, but reckless that could have gotten him expelled. He could have gotten in severe trouble for flying. He could have gotten in severe trouble for being out at night. And of course, the situation with the three-headed dog. But here we are, and he's flying.
I just love the imagery here. Blood was pounding in his ears. And he mounted the broom, and the air rushed through his hair, and his robes whipped out from behind him. And in a rush of fierce joy, think of that wording, fierce joy. It's not just joy. It's not gleeful joy. It is fierce joy. It's something that is visceral and almost it borders anger level, and it borders detriment.
Oh, see, I
That's
see
so
it as
joyful.
so strong.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's so strong that it borders bad. It borders like the thing that makes you question whether or not you're doing something. It's fierce. I just find that so descriptive and viable as a descriptor. I mean, and then following it up with "this was easy," and then in italics, "this was wonderful." Something full of wonder, something that is beyond Harry's recognition. It is innate. It is something that is in his blood, and that makes his blood boil in his ears. And all I could think of, Mary, was you.
Oh.
When I was thinking about this. Because I
For a
know
good
that
reason?
there has been times when you could feel the blood pounding in your ears because you are an absolute Gryffindor to the bone. And all I could think of is you doing this and thinking, wow, that is exactly Mary. Have you ever been in a situation where blood is pounding in your ears?
Yep. Yep.
Care to elaborate?
No.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So another Gryffindor catches Harry. It's Professor McGonagall.
Excellent stuff.
And, he, for quite some time, is afraid that he's actually going to get in trouble because, of course, all the words that have described Professor McGonagall before this moment have been stern and rigid and like a serious rule follower. And she goes to Professor Quirrell's room and asks for wood. And Harry thinks that she's getting wood like a cane to beat him. Now, I came across, during one of my bouts of insomnia, the most amazing fan fiction. It's not the most amazing, but an amazing fan fiction to come across during this chapter. It was about fan fiction, of course, is just like a canon offshoot thing. I need to take a moment to talk about this. It was
ahead.
how Minerva McGonagall, once again, this is all fiction, not from the book. Minerva McGonagall was having dreams that something was wrong with Harry Potter, and like Lily and James Potter would go to her in her dreams and say like, you need to go check up on our boy, and she would ask Dumbledore like, is he okay? And Dumbledore's like, yeah, whatever, I check up on him all the time, he's fine. And Minerva ends up sneaking over in Muggle clothes. Oh, and she like says something to Severus, like, I'm having these weird dreams and Dumbledore won't tell me where he lives, and Severus ends up telling her. And she goes over and she finds Harry like in the cupboard. He's only like 3 and he's like peed himself and he's obviously very poorly treated. She ends up taking him in and adopting him, and it causes a big rift between her and Dumbledore. And actually Snape ends up helping her a lot while she's co-teaching, and she ends up raising Harry. And she loves Quidditch, and obviously he gets really fond of Quidditch, and he's really good at Quidditch because, of course, Minerva was like a Quidditch player in her heyday and could have played professionally. But it's this whole idea about how she never got to have a kid of her own, and her mothering instinct, but also her like maternal instinct in general told her that something was wrong with Harry. So she ended up raising him in Hogwarts and gave him a life that he deserved as just a human, but also as the
And this was a
chosen one.
fanfic?
Yes, complete with pictures.
Oh my goodness.
Including the fact that she and Severus Snape at the end of each year would wear colors of whoever won the Quidditch World Cup. So there was a picture of like Severus pouting and she was smiling and she was wearing like maroon and he was wearing maroon. And then another picture of her pouting and Severus was like wicked happy and they were both in green. It was an amazing piece of fan fiction just because it wasn't like incredibly well written, but it hit me in this chapter because Minerva, who's always been said to be stern and so like not a rule breaker, she breaks a massive rule. She sees a first year riding a broom, and instead of giving him detention, instead of reprimanding him, instead of expelling him, she loves Quidditch so much, but also has a soft spot for an orphaned Harry Potter.
Sure.
That she breaks a rule. There hasn't been a first-year Quidditch player in a century.
Never mind a seeker.
Yeah.
Of all things. It's absolutely interesting because you're right, Mary. McGonagall is... You take her as someone who is the very by the book, like person who is going to keep things in line, and rules are what keep things in line. Yet, she breaks this rule for Harry, or she bends the rules, as she says it. I would love to know your opinion on why she bends the rules. I know we kind of just got into it a little bit, but I would love for you to...
I think I just had like a 5-minute monologue about it.
I know, but fan fiction. Yeah, sure. But
No.
why? I want you to amplify on a little bit for me.
I think because she's always going to have a soft spot in her heart for Harry Potter, the boy who she met, a year old, a scar in his head as his parents were killed, and how terrible she feels that he's being left at that doorstep. But also, Minerva McGonagall is a die-hard Quidditch fan, okay?
And she's the head of Gryffindor, too.
And the head of Gryffindor. And this, my friends, this, I think, is the one most important piece of evidence as to why Minerva McGonagall is a Gryffindor and not a Ravenclaw. Because she breaks some rules because she wants to win.
Oh, yeah, she wants... And, the other thing that comes into play here, too, is the fact that she knows that James Potter was a seeker as well. I mean, we don't know that yet as readers, but she does.
No, in the books, he's a chaser.
No, I thought he was a seeker.
I think he's a seeker in the movie, but I think he's actually a chaser in the books.
Well, if that's the case, then I apologize. But regardless, she knows that James Potter was some sort of positional player in Quidditch, and thereby Harry must have some sort of predilection for Quidditch, and giving her the ability to win. And it also fits narratively nice, too. I mean, the father played it and everything, and it's just that much more of a connection for Harry to his dad. And these are the subtle ways that we're learning about his dad that make him so very similar.
And how
Harry.
much more does that make Harry want to be exceptional at Quidditch? You think about particularly men, they look up to their dads, and if their dads played a sport or went to a certain school or cheered for certain sports teams, like oftentimes... they want to emulate that and kind of copy that same behavior. And so here's Harry, who didn't necessarily get to go to the Quidditch World Cup with his dad, but he knows that his dad played, and he knows he's good at it too. So you've got, like you said, this like Potter in him where it's like, I'm going to prove that I'm a Potter, and I'm going to kick some booty. So he ends up getting, of course, put on the team. He's telling his friends all of this. He's very excited, but they're kind of keeping it on the DL because they want it to be quite the surprise. And in the meantime, too, Malfoy comes up and says, let's have a midnight duel. And all I can think of, the 10 Duel Commandments.
Good job. Good job. I got to find it now because I don't have it ready to go. So what are you doing to me, Mary? You got to let me know when these things are coming up.
This is why I should be the sound engineer.
No.
Here comes the General Washington.
There you go.
There you go, Blake.
That's your Hamilton reference.
And Ron quickly fills Harry in. And thank goodness for Ron. Ron may not be as apt on a broom, but Ron knows wizards talk.
Karen says the author has said that James was a chaser.
Oh,
So
yay.
there you go. Okay. Ron is great here, too, because he knows that Harry is in over his head when it comes to being a wizard and having a duel and not even knowing what a duel does. And I love that moment when Harry says, "What's a second?"
Oh my gosh, we need to rewrite the lyrics to the 10 Duel Commandments
You
for Harry
can do
Potter.
that.
I totally will.
And
To go along with my Crazy by Moaning Myrtle.
that is absolutely a Patreon thing.
He drives me crazy.
No, you can't give away the goods.
I'm on the brink. I saw a basilisk in the sink.
Mary rewrote that song to Moaning Myrtle. That is an absolute truth. I will say this. If we get to 500 patrons, here it is. Mary and Blake Commitment.
JoinTheNerdClan.com.
Go to jointhenerdclan.com. If we get 500 patrons, I will make public Mary's rewritten Moaning Myrtle song for Britney Spears.
We never recorded the Sirius Black
No,
one.
we did not.
Dead or alive or petrified.
You are such a dork.
Oh,
my
what I
God.
do.
Okay. All right. So
the 10 Duel Commandments.
yeah, Ron
Number 1.
is backing up Harry, and I love when Ron says, "Yeah, I'm the second in case you die, but you ain't gonna die because the most you're gonna do is just shoot sparks at him." And he just has Harry's back.
Will it make a little sound?
Yeah. You know,
Swish and flick. I'm 2 weeks into my training.
so they go on their way, and something else happens here, and we forget that Hermione, by the way, is still being called Hermione Granger. She's not just being called Hermione throughout these chapters. So the author is telling you that there's still a distance between Hermione and Ron and Harry.
And Harry, yeah.
But the author also does something that's really important here. She puts the three of them together in an organic way, for the most part. I hate when authors or showrunners or writers force relationships on you. It has to happen naturally. It has to give oomph to it. It can't exist for the sake of existing. It has to give a reason to care, and it has to give a reason to exist. What does each member of the friendship bring to the friendship? For example, Harry brings
the fact that he's the chosen one.
He's the chosen one. Ron brings the support and care and knowledge.
Ron brings the knowledge, the wizard knowledge.
Yeah, and Hermione is the one who brings the practicality and the specialness of magic into all of it. And we finally get that in this chapter, but it starts off in this really peculiar way. And what happens is Hermione is saying, listen, you can't go. Like, you're going to go and they're going to lose all these points that I got for knowing about switching spells. And Ron says, go away. And Hermione says, all right, but I warned you. You just remember that when I said when you're on the train home tomorrow, you're so... But what they were, they didn't find out. Hermione had turned to the portrait of the fat lady to get back inside and found herself facing an empty painting. The fat lady had gone on a nighttime visit, and Hermione was locked out of Gryffindor Tower. Now what am I going to do? She asked shrilly. That's your problem, said Ron. We've got to go. We're going to be late. And they haven't even reached the end of the corridor when Hermione caught up with them. And notice, it wasn't until she makes the choice to go with them that the author starts writing just Hermione and not Hermione Granger. And she says, I'm coming with you. You are not, said Ron. Do you think I'm going to stand out here and wait for Filch to catch me? If he finds all three of us, I'll tell him the truth, that I was trying to stop you and you can back me up. I love this.
Yes.
Because Hermione is doing something that she doesn't want to do, but she has no other choice. So she has to make a choice. Sit there and get caught by Filch, or get caught by Filch with all three of them. And she chooses to be with all three of them, knowing that it's probably the right thing to do is be with them.
You know, it's interesting. In these early chapters, Harry is not a big fan of Hermione either. All Hermione does in these earlier chapters is pretty much reprimand Harry. Yes, Ron and she get into, little tiffs every once in a while, but really she just keeps telling Harry, you shouldn't do that. You really shouldn't do that. I've earned us so many points recently, and if you do this, you're going to lose all the points that I earned for us. How dare you? And Harry doesn't ever butt in when Ron's putting her down. Whereas also I think that Ron is very quick to put her down because Ron is a child in a very large family, and he has learned to stand up for himself and not take any crap. So here he is being bothered, quote unquote, by Hermione, and maybe it kind of reminds him of Ginny. Leave us alone. Go away. We don't want you here. Obviously very mean to say. These are 11-year-old children, of course. But how many 11-year-old boys have probably said that to their 10-year-old sister? So I think that, Ron just sees her as this annoying girl who keeps harboring on her. And then they bump into Neville. So this, of course, is another difference from the movies. In the movies, they're not heading to this midnight duel. They stumble over Neville, who they think is Mrs. Norris, because they just hear, a little sniffling. And Neville forgot the password. So the four of them go to the trophy room. And Malfoy set them up. Okay, so Filch and Mrs. Norris go in there.
Yeah, that's one of the questions I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
Just for clarification, does Malfoy set them up?
Malfoy set them up. Malfoy said, oh, sure, I'll meet you in the trophy room at midnight, when, of course, students are not allowed out in the castle.
And before we get into that, actually, too, the way that the author brings in Neville into this group is really important, too. He says, I've been out here for hours. I couldn't remember the new password to get in bed, which is playing off of the Remember All, which happened earlier in the chapter. Keep your voice down, Neville. The password's pig snout, but it won't help you now because the fat lady's gone off somewhere. And fine, said Neville, showing them his arm. Good. Well, look, Neville, we've got to be somewhere. We'll see you later. And Neville says, don't leave me, scrambling to his feet. I don't want to stay out here alone. The Bloody Baron's been passed twice already. It shows you his character immediately. Poor Neville has already been hurt a bunch of times. And forgetful, and he's scared. He's such a scared little kid. And when eventually in book 3 we get to know that his true fear is Snape, you believe it because he's scared of the Bloody Baron.
Yes.
Excellent stuff.
So they head on over to the trophy room, and as I said, Malfoy has just kind of like set him up. They bump into Peeves, who we've gotten to see several times the past couple of chapters, and he bothers McGonagall on her way to find Oliver Wood, and now he's bothering the kids here, and they're just saying, like, leave us alone, Peeves, and he's the one that ends up yelling, students out of bed, and he gets them in trouble. And Mrs. Norris and Filch, by the way, worst searchers ever. Like, there's 4 kids in there. You didn't see them, like, run away from you? You couldn't turn on a light or something? I have no idea. Mrs. Norris is obviously not a good search dog. But speaking of dogs, the kids are running away. They run and run and run, trying just to get back to the Gryffindor common room. And in the meantime, they get to the 3rd floor corridor. And they're trying to run away from Mrs. Norris and Filch. And there's this door that... all it needed was a simple Alohomora to, and 4 first-year children stumble into this room. Which, can I just say, Dumbledore, if you're trying to lock a room that could lead to a certain death, like, why just lock it with something as simple as Alohomora can unlock? First years learn that.
Well, this is a question that I have to ask you because... the way that the author writes this is... I know I've read a lot today, but there's a lot of great writing in here that needs to be called out. Run! Harry yelled at the 4 of them, sprinting down the gallery, not looking back to see whether Filch was following. They swung around the doorpost and galloped down one corridor and then another, Harry in the lead without any idea where they were or where they were going. They ripped through a tapestry and found themselves in a hidden passageway, hurtled along it, and came out near the Charms classroom, which they knew was miles from the trophy room. This is really important because in the last chapter, we established that Hogwarts is an ever-changing, ever-breathing character.
Yes.
And Harry is running and running and running, not knowing where he's running through tapestries. He's going into these abandoned corridors, no idea where he's going. And it just so happens, are you telling me that they just happen to go or at least end up in the room that the Sorcerer Stone is going to be under the guard of a 3-headed dog? No fracking chance. Listen, I'm wearing my Outlander cast shirt right now, and especially in season 3, one thing that really bothered me was that things happened because the narrative needed them to happen. Jamie got shipwrecked near an island, and wouldn't you know, it just happened to be the island that Claire was stranded on talking to coconuts. It was really lazy writing, in my opinion. But the DNA of the text here in Harry Potter suggests that more is happening at Hogwarts. It's almost as if Hogwarts wants Harry to find the Sorcerer's Stone. And we already have that indication from the text when Dumbledore himself was saying, don't go into that corridor. Don't go into that room on the 3rd floor, because if you do, it's going to be out of bounds. It's going to be problems.
So, conspiracy theory. Dumbledore, of course, wanted Harry to be on the 3rd floor corridor and to see the dog. Dumbledore actually had Hagrid pick up something from that from Gringotts the same day that he had Harry. He couldn't have had Hagrid do it the day before or the day after or any other time that he's in London. He had to do it with Harry in tow. Oh, while you're at Gringotts, I want you to also go to the super secret thing in front of Harry Potter. Exactly. These staircases can change. So some conspiracy theorists in the Harry Potter fandom think that these staircases were led to have Harry stumble upon that. And that's why the door was able to be opened with something as simple as Alohomora, which a first-year student could figure out.
Absolutely. So it feels as if Harry is being guided by Hogwarts. something
Or
Dumbledore, or maybe they're one and the same, right? Maybe Dumbledore is maneuvering Hogwarts to his liking, to his need, right? I mean, the guy's the most powerful wizard on the planet. You
He's
tell me that
trying
he
to
can't make it work?
trap Voldemort,
Yes.
and he knows. Cover your ears for spoilers. He knows that neither can live while the other is alive.
Right,
So he
exactly.
knows he needs to get Harry and Voldemort together.
And that's how you have to question that throughout this entire series.
Yes.
Things happen to Harry. Later on in, was it book 5, or at least in movie 5, Harry says, yeah, I did all these things, but I kind of lucked out. These things happened around me. I got all this aid from all these people. It's not just because people really liked him or he just happened to get lucky. You have to look back on it now and question the validity of how much Harry is in control of what he's doing. And I don't think it is a coincidence that he ends up on they say in the text is miles away from the trophy room. You know, the thing that connects him to his dad.
I mean, I think they were exaggerating.
Well, you know what I mean. But what I'm saying is
Yeah.
he ends up on the other side of the school,
Yes.
let's say. I think it's fitting that the chapter begins with Harry discovering that he can fly and he can do all these great things, and as it relates to Quidditch, yet at the end of the chapter, we're separating ourselves from that. We're separating ourselves from the trophy room. We're separating ourselves from his dad, who is in the trophy room as a Quidditch player. This is his
own path.
It's his own journey. Yes, Quidditch is important. It's what his dad did, but this is the beginning of his own path.
So, that of course concludes the chapter, and then Hermione's like, I'm going to bed because you guys are doing nothing but trouble this entire chapter. And once again, it's very interesting that this chapter is titled The Midnight Duel, which really never happened. Malfoy said, let's have a midnight duel, and then he never showed up. But what's cool about this title is that we as the reader think that there's going to be a midnight duel. We think that this
Right.
is what's
The
important.
misdirection's great.
But really what is important is Harry has this innate ability to be an excellent flyer, and Harry sees the three-headed dog and puts pieces together that maybe what was stolen Gringotts is underneath there.
Dare I say it's Star Wars-esque, the Duel of the Fates? Ooh. Oh, yes! So why do you think they did not include this part in the film?
They didn't need it.
You didn't need it?
Meaning what part in the film? Meaning the midnight duel. Yeah, they didn't need it.
Because they already set Malfoy up in the Quidditch practice, or the flying class as the person who's going to be opposing Harry.
Yeah, they needed the midnight duel to once again solidify that Draco and Harry are trying to fight, that Draco's just trying to get him in trouble. But what the author needed was a reason for Harry to be running around the school and accidentally end up in the corridor.
Yep, got it. All right, you want to take another perspective?
Are you first?
I got one.
Okay, yeah.
I'm going to do Filch.
Awesome.
Filch,
Awesome.
just doing his job, man. Just doing his job, trying to go out there, protect the kids, make sure they're all in bed. Yeah, he's a dink. Yeah, he could probably go about doing things better. But man's being paid. Man's being paid to do a job by Dumbledore. And all he's trying to do is fulfill it. He's getting these words from Malfoy, and he's already heard all this crap about Harry. He already probably thinks the same way that Snape does. Harry sucks. Harry sucks because he thinks he's awesome. And he thinks he's awesome because he's the chosen one. So that kid can go around doing whatever the hell he feels like. No. I'm going to get him. I know they're around here somewhere. I'm just doing my job. Screw them. I don't blame them. Go run after them kids. Get them back in their beds. God forbid one of them falls and breaks a wrist. Just like Neville did earlier. God forbid one of them goes into a room they're not supposed to get into and gets eaten by a three-headed dog with 6 eyes. What are we talking about? Of course he's going to run after them.
Agreed.
He's just trying to do the best that he can.
I love it.
What do you got? Anything for you?
Hermione.
What do you got?
Hermione, otherwise known as Hermione Granger this entire time because she wasn't being seen as an equal, nor is she truly a friend yet. The poor thing. Her entire life, she knew she was smart, but probably wasn't able to piece things together. She finally feels like this is the place for her to blossom. You know, she was probably made fun of as like being nerdy, only child of dentists, maybe her parents, would show her teeth. I don't know what dentists do. I'm not going to lie. But she's here to do something really, really cool. And she's proud of the fact. And she studied and she did all these things. And she is stuck with these dopes. And I got to tell you, there was a boy in my life who may or may not have stopped me from saying I Pledge of Allegiance for 2 years. Who I had to sit next to from kindergarten through 8th grade, who was a friend of mine, but was like the biggest doofus and would talk all the time and would like try to make fart sounds all the time. And I had to sit next to him because our names left like literally one letter difference at the end. And I was like, yeah, exactly. So I know what it's like to be this high achieving woman who just can't with these immature boys, like, please, can I please hang out with people who are like 10 years older than them? Because I'm here to learn. I'm here to be great. I'm here to do awesome things. And these people are going to lose me house points. I don't want to do group activities with them. And yet I'm stuck in a group activity year long called house points. So, yes. Hermione Granger, in this chapter, is telling them, please stop. Please don't fly. Yeah. It's not safe.
You're risking everything here.
Literally, Madam Hooch is probably just going to, like, take a cigarette and burn it on your hand or something that, like, a 70s or 80s teacher would do. I don't even know. She looks cray-cray. Like, we just don't know what's going to happen with her. Please don't do a midnight duel. That's a terrible idea. A terrible idea. Like, she's really trying to look out for them. She could just ignore them and let them get expelled. And then has to get caught up in this mess, chased by Filch, midnight, gets to see a scary dog. No wonder she wants to go to bed and stay away from these boys.
Oh, man. Kate saying, yes, it's so hard being the smart girl in middle school. Victoria says, I've never understood Hermione and Ron. Denise says Mary is such a Gryffindor for sure. Allie says it's the biggest group project ever.
Yes. Seriously.
I don't do group projects. I don't do them.
When I was reading this, and I hope you're all are. When I was reading this moment where she was like, I just earned all these points and you're going to lose it. I was thinking about people who are like, can you please just wear a mask so our kids can go to school? I don't care if you like it or not, but I just want my kids to go to school. Like, that's what I was feeling.
Suzanne says that Hermione is such a fun sucker. Oh, my God. Tammy actually says, from Harry's point of view, Hermione is a pest, but from Hermione's point of view, the boys are such doofuses.
That was the same boy in my life that told me that I was going to be an excellent wife someday. He's like, nobody wants to date you now, but I bet you'll be a great wife someday.
Get that kid out of here. That kid out of here.
Blake. He didn't stop me from saying a Pledge of Allegiance. He's out of here.
That's
Trust
true.
me.
Good point.
Somebody say be a great wife. Hopefully I am a great wife.
Yep. All right.
That was not sounding like that was a real yep.
What?
I just asked you, am I a great wife? And you went, yep.
No, you are. You're a great wife. You're incredible. You're the best wife. Best of wives, best of women.
Okay. Let's go on. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, just because I have to now. Yeah, you're welcome, America.
Here comes the General Washington.
That's my girl. All right, we got some emails and questions, although we don't have any emails. So if you guys do have any questions, I'm surprised we don't have any emails for this episode. So if you do have questions, now is the time to get them into the live feed.
Send us an email in regards to next chapter, please.
Yes,
it's Halloween. It's like where things get real. This is also the moment in the movie where I push stop. I let our kids watch up to Halloween. They are 5 and 7, and then I stop it.
Melissa asks, did anyone else mispronounce Hermione until the movies? For some reason, she said Hermione.
It was a common thing until people maybe heard it in audiobooks. Mm-hmm. So you were not alone.
I would have said Hermione.
Yeah, a lot of people would have said that too.
Yep, that's what I would have said.
Yes. Okay, well, why don't you come up with a quick question? I asked before, how would you think if you were flying? And do you have any questions?
Would you have done the midnight duel?
Depends with who. I mean,
if it was Draco, like all things in a vacuum here, would you just switch places with?
I mean, if it was my arch nemesis, I would. but I did chicken out of a fight in high school.
Yes, you did.
Like hardcore.
Absolutely.
I sat next to the principal during lunch and was like, "Can I just sit here?"
Mary got in
it's
trouble
the
with the big
worst.
school bully.
Yes. Everyone, "Oh, who's the tall volleyball player girl with the orange backpack?" Telling you, all the girls in the bathrooms, "Girl, you're gonna die." I don't know you, but you're gonna die, girl. Oh gosh.
Oh, man.
Getting an orange backpack was not a
Allie
good
says
choice.
no way Mary would sneak out of bed in the middle of the night.
I mean, let's be real. If I'm already asleep, I probably would sleep through it.
Yeah, guaranteed. Absolutely. Mary has no problem.
I might have a slight narcolepsy problem. Or is it just that I'm very comfortable sleeping? Like, why can't I sleep anywhere?
You can sleep literally anywhere at any time.
Yeah.
Like if
this
I
looks
told
co-
Mary to fall asleep right now, give her 1 minute, she'll be asleep.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Right here on the table.
It takes me 45 minutes at the least to fall asleep every single night.
Yep.
All
Okay.
right. Let's see. Suzanne says, why do you think they did not include Peeves in the movies?
I think they were able to figure out how to work around him, and it would have just taken time. You have, especially with quick movies, you need to like know the core characters.
Yeah.
And I think too many people would have made it difficult.
In those early days, these films were like an hour 45, hour
Yeah.
50. And for you to get introduced to all of the ghosts, include them in the plot, understand who they are, how they're
Yeah.
different from each other, and given the visual aesthetic of the ghosts, they all look the same anyway. So, yeah, I could see why they wouldn't do it. Anna asks, Blake, would you duel at midnight? Would I? Yes. Absolutely. Totally. If it made things better for me, or if I had a grudge to get across, yep, I'm absolutely doing it.
I would definitely do if I had a friend. Like if I had a second.
Ellen says, if the films were done from any other character's point of view, who would you have liked to been it from? I'd love to see it from the Draco's point of view.
Yes, that would be great.
That would be interesting, especially as it gets into later films.
I would have liked to see Dumbledore's point of view
You
just because I
just
wanted to
stole
know
it
what he
from
was
me.
doing this whole time.
You just stole it from
yeah.
me. I was going to say Dumbledore's
Like, because he
point of
does
view.
so much. He does so much that we don't know about. We just like skim the surface of. And I think that he's the biggest mystery to me.
Yeah. I was going to say also Snape, but we kind of got that in the end of the series. So it probably wouldn't.
It probably would have been boring. He probably has like a boring hobby.
You think
know?
he has a hobby? He doesn't have any hobbies.
I mean, like, what would his hobby be?
Potion making. That's his hobby. That's what he does.
Yeah, old eye. Like,
That
what'd
or
you
he
do
does
tonight?
something like totally off color. Like he, I don't know, plays basketball. Like he loves basketball.
Bakes bread.
Yeah. Let's see. Would you guys get past the 3 dogs? Anna
No.
asks. No. I would have died.
I would have been so scared.
I would have died. Definitely. Let's see what else we got.
Why do you think they left Neville out of the scene with the 3-headed dog scene in the movie? Just once again, I think they're trying to focus on the core 3. And in the books, obviously, Neville plays a bigger, a more common character. But I think they just wanted to focus on the trio.
Sure. Caitlin asks, how do you think the story would have gone if it would have been 4 friends with Neville included in every one of our 3 heroes are?
I also think that Neville would have, I think Neville's innocence and his frailty would have come off like he was being made fun of the entire time. Because it kind of feels that way in the books, but I think you're able to skim over a little bit more. So.
Allison says Snape knits like a fiend. And that's it. That's all. Oh, Denise asks, what would your remember all say?
It would just turn red, and I'd sit there saying, "You're not telling me anything, remember all."
You suck, remember all.
Take it, Malfoy.
All right, yeah, that's it. Let's close this bad boy out. We anticipated this being a short episode.
Yes.
Wrong. It is 54 minutes long so
Sorry.
far. So sorry, everybody. we started the podcast thinking, yeah, stuff happens.
It's a simple episode.
But it's fine. We're gonna be fine. It's a half hour at most. I looked down. We hadn't even started half the analysis in 28
I mean,
minutes.
for 5 minutes, I was talking about fan fiction.
Yeah, and avoiding flies.
That fly.
That's gonna be a Hall of Fame moment.
Kamikazes on my face.
Oh
whatever.
man! All right, let's close this bad boy out, shall we?
Yes.
Thank you.
We want to thank you all so much for tuning in, for listening. Please remember to head on over to your podcast app and give us a rating or a review. It lights us up.
And make sure you go to jointhenerdclan.com if you find there is any value in what we do here at the Potterverse, or if you like just what Mary and I have to offer. Go to the jointhenerdclan.com, and for as little as $2 a month, you can become a member there, join all the nerds that are there in that community, and help support what we do here, including the Potterverse, but also Outlander Cast and all things that occur in Mary and Blake media. So thank you, everybody, and make sure you do get those reviews in for us.
Yeah, we really, really appreciate it. And always make sure that you're signing up for that texting service. You text the number 81010, and then in the message field at Elderwand, @ELDERWAND, and that's how you make sure that you get our complimentary texting reminders to let you know when we are going live.
It's a really good service. I'm not going to lie. I quite like it because it gets you, to know that when we're here, when we're going to be here. And usually we're here every Monday and Wednesday. So if you're listening on the podcast app and you want to see what's going on live, you can do so. Go to Monday and Wednesday, Facebook, or any other major sources of your social media.
Yeah. Well, on that note, my name is Mary.
My name's Blake.
Mischief managed. I had seen someone had asked what house Madam Hooch belongs in. She's a Ravenclaw. Emma wants to know, where do we email questions? You email them at maryandblakemedia@gmail.com.
That, or you just go to maryandblake.com and just hit the contact button, and you'll see a space for an email. Like, you can just write it right on our website, and you don't have to do the whole email thing. Just write it right on the website, and it will get sent directly to us.
Thank you, Dana. It was Dana's review that we read in the beginning of the episode, so thank you so much, Dana. Remember, everybody, to hit that share button below, and you can use the hashtag the Potterverse, and it helps other people learn about this podcast. A lot of people, we're just living our busy, crazy lives right now, and having something to look forward to during the week where we can read along, or at least kind of relive a series like this and help us transport and talk about something different for a little while. Hopefully brings joy in your life and your friends.
By the way, a new record today for most viewers at one moment at any given time today. So keep hitting those share buttons.
Yay.
Keep getting those expecto patronums out there. And that way we will get more recognition as it relates to all the social media.
And Blake has uploaded new designs in the Mary and Blake store in regards to the Potterverse, in regards to all things Harry Potter and Quidditch
I may
teams.
take a screenshot of Mary trying to
No.
avoid a fly.
No, I would really appreciate you not. Thank you. Remember when I had that purse that someone made with my face on it, and they
That's
gave it
true.
to me as a gift, and I'm like, am I supposed to carry this as my face on it? Yeah, I don't want anyone wearing a shirt with my face on it.
Melissa asks, are there any more thoughts on the After the Dark Arts show? We have discussed it. It is something that we are hoping to do when the time is right. Our kids have been
Bananas.
very clingy and very wakey uppy whenever they want. So if we were to do it, we kind of want things to settle down. So it may be a little bit, but yes, I think we will eventually do some type of show like that.
Yeah.
For the members that join the nerdclan.com. So that's what we're
All
hoping.
right, guys. So once again, email the questions in regards to the chapter Halloween, or if it's anything along the Harry Potter universe, so that we can read them on next week's show. Send us your reviews and ratings. Hitting that share button. All of this really means so much to Blake and I. We appreciate you. You do not know how great this is. I've been pulling my hair out, and I had a headache today thinking about school for the kids. So to be able to just put that away, this has kind of been like a mindfulness activity. I always looked forward to, especially Thursday nights, because that was the night that I got to make music with a community. And I no longer have that. And this has really filled a lot of that space in my heart, because you have brought a community about something else that I love, that I get to look forward to. So thank you so much for continuing to hang out with us while we podcast.
Because we're all a bunch of nerds. And that's why you have to go to jointhenerdclan.com. All right, nerds. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care, everybody.
Have a